Namaste, Archana ji.
Namaste, Praveen. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's one of those things which I kind of like, take great interest in people's well-being, wellness, and etc. And I think you touch on those topics quite well. The usual general beginning with my conversations is usually about the journey of the person because, I think it's important to establish who you are and what you do. So I don't know if you want to perhaps start with that and then we can continue. So.
Sure. I'm very old, so you should be ready for a long story from my side on this. So basically, grew up in a small town in central India, actually not a small town, in a few small towns because my father was in a transferable job, but more of central India. And then, like for post graduation, went off to Bombay, where I actually did post graduation in teachers training for spastic children. So my idea was really to get started with a residential school for spastic children in central India, where I thought those kind of facilities in those days were actually, I think even today, are not available. But life takes its own turn. And very soon, actually, I got married. I shifted to Delhi. And because I used to write for newspapers and magazines on current affairs, I actually got sucked into chambers of commerce and industry. And I started my career with that and was very lucky to actually get started working in that space. So was in Delhi for almost 13 years before I came to what is, in one sense, my hometown, Karnataka, in Bangalore. And since then, of course, moved briefly to Chennai for work, all work related. And last few years, almost like 5, 6 years now, I am in Mysore, a beautiful little city in south of India, if you know.
So in Mysore, you are running this conscious living center. Please
Correct.
tell me a little bit more about this center. What kind of center it is?
Sure. Actually, this center or the company, how my company is called, it is registered formally in Bangalore, but I reside in Mysore and we work globally with this. So it is not a physical center. And I did, dream of it at some point in time. Maybe I will also have a center, but I'm not too sure the way it's growing organically from the time I set it up. But as you rightly said, even in the beginning, conscious living is a something that actually talks about wellness, about living with more awareness, consciousness. So it is connected to that. And frankly, at this point, while I talked about my journey being in chambers of commerce and industry, my interest in actually setting up a residential school for specially abled, but finally, when I was almost, in my 40s, like they say, midlife crisis, even I was looking for some direction in my life, I guess. And the universe, in fact, I would say, connected me to my calling. And funnily, I would say that calling is to save lives or help transform lives, impact them positively, give them some direction. So that is how this whole thing began. I still remember reading in Times of India about a 13-year-old girl committing suicide because of homework pressure. Now, I lost my sleep because, I had heard of pressure because of exams and stuff, but homework was a bit too much, and that too, just a 13-year-old girl. And that made me really think, what's going wrong with the adult world? How can we be pushing a young little child who has not even started living life to give up on life? And when I started, doing some research and this caught my attention, I realized this was not a one-off case. This was happening globally. Young children, as young as 8, 9 year olds to 75-year-olds, to people who are in any kind of, I would say, discomforted position, even little bit globally. People don't have the patience to deal with it. They don't probably have the wherewithal to deal with it. And somehow everything ends up being either taking your own life or taking somebody else's life. And this was like, for me, it was like, why is that? We all go through different kind of problems. We all go through ups and downs. And there are some of us who don't lose it, I would say. And but then there are a large majority of people, for some reason, I feel they haven't figured out how to live life, even as grown-ups. And I think it's the grown-ups who are impacting the younger ones to feel even more confused. So even as grown-ups, right? Like, so there are younger people going and saying, I love you, the other person does not reciprocate. No, you're not able to take a no for the answer. I want everything instantly, as they say, right? And then, like, you go into, you get a job, uh, you are in 20s, you're celebrating, you lose that job for any reason, you're unable to take it. Yeah, the logical reason is I'm having EMIs, I have to pay off loans, but whatever be the reason, there has to be another way out. If you got one job, you should be able to get another job. Or even if you are married and your marriage is not working out for any reason, there is something called the same society, the same legal system has come up with a divorce situation, right? You just separate out. But no, people rarely go through that also. They just get more, I would say, they're more disturbed in the psyche, in the reaction, is what I realized. And that really disturbed me because I was thinking, I have been trying to solve different kind of problems from my younger days of trying to solve problems for a spastic child to my grown-up years entirely through chambers of commerce and all was really to solve different kind of problems that industry or community as a whole was looking at. And I think this was what universe threw on me as the biggest problem and almost challenging me, okay, solve this if you can. And interestingly, what I found was because my life also, like every other person's life, probably with little more, I think, peaks on both sides. I had this life journey. I had also gone and sought help from spirituality. And in the sense, when I say help, at one point, even in my life, I started feeling, what is this life? When you're hit with such things, what are you supposed to do? When you don't really find a very easy way out or a logical way out, and you don't know why, people ask, why is this happening to me? What have I done? So I also had these questions. And when I started looking for answers, I did get answers in spirituality. And I was very fortunate. I would consider that I really got introduced in this lifetime to who happened to be my Guruji, my spiritual guru. And once I got those answers, a lot of things started making sense to me. Difficulties would still come, but I think I got the strength, courage, and the patience that you require. When people say, this too shall pass, or it's all about time, earlier it was difficult to, when you are going through it, to really remember these things. But I think when you get the big picture through spirituality, it did give me the strength, patience, and the wherewithals to go through life. And then I thought, okay, if this has helped me, along with everything that people do, right? Your education, your skilling, and other, life skills that you learn. Some of us are fortunate. Maybe we are born in families where we were exposed to these things from a very young age, or we had good education. Some maybe not. So I really gathered all of this, and I started going out to whatever audience I would get, and I started talking to them, really live consciously. And this was because I realized the biggest problem we all face in life is when we are trying to, uh, make everybody happy. We feel that I have to toe the line. I'm expected to do this. I'm a failure because everybody else has done that. I'm not able to do this. So I realized we don't know ourselves. We have no clarity about the life that we should be leading. We don't know the purpose of our lives. And then we are trying to satisfy others about their opinion on what they think our life should be or what we should be doing. So we get very frustrated. So my point of actually coining this term conscious living was, wake up, friends, like, stop. living a very mechanical life, towing the line that everybody is towing, or getting into what they say as the rat race, but live your life. And the basic logic was, we all have been created to be unique. So let's live our unique, beautiful lives, right? Why do I have to even try to live your life? Why should you be even trying to make your life boring by making it like me? You live your life, let me live my life. Both of us, let us be inspired by each other's life. And why can't we be like that? So I started actually going out and telling people about this aspect, and why, if I have to say why I realize there is a need to talk about it, is, or why we have become like this, is from our education system. India was very fortunate, I would say, that in the traditional Gurukul system, as you would know, we had things very clearly laid out. You first get your value systems from your house, then you come under the shelter of a guru who is not only just giving lectures and taking classes on different subjects, but is actually living a very ideal life. And he's able to understand you, guide you according to what is right for you. So in Gurukul, those were things. And first thing is, children were taught about what is life. They were made to understand in this whole big picture of life, where do they fit in, what are their strengths and gifts they have innately, and how they can really fine tune them and really be a part of the community, society, and make that space better with their contribution. And that was the career that they would get into after the age of 20 or 25, and they leave their gurukul. So it was not like what we are doing nowadays. Everybody at this age goes to a kindergarten, everybody after that goes to the same kind of schooling, and everybody is supposed to be depending on what's trending. You're supposed to be an engineer, doctor, or maybe today a data analytics or a AI expert or something like that. It has nothing to do with each individual's innate gift or purpose for which one actually exists. So I really felt that we are not getting an opportunity in today's time to formally or informally learn about life or learn about ourselves. We are learning about everything outside. ABCD to about Elon Musk, we all know more about when he sleeps, where he sleeps, how he sleeps, than actually being bothered about what's right for me. I know why he does that, but I don't know why I do what I do in my life. So, that being the case, I was very, very much like, compelled to go out there and share this with everybody. Don't you think this is right? And don't you think it's time for us to just wake up and become conscious of, okay, he knows, fortunately, Elon Musk, what he wants to do and why he wants to do the way he wants to do. What about us? Like, can we all figure out that for ourselves? And just by talking about this, I realized a lot of people, they started coming back to me and saying, I was stuck, in whatever, in their relationship or issues with schools, colleges, whatever, wherever they were work related. And they said, once I heard this, I got clear about what I should do. And that's what brought me to, okay, now this is a business idea, frankly, because so many people need this. And I realized I want to get away from everything else that I've been doing. And I want to dedicate myself, because not only did this make a lot of sense to me, as I said, I realized this is my calling, because I too realized I had some innate gifts that I had no idea how to make the best use of, for making the right impact in the society or contribution in the society. And with this, I think I started realizing that not only lives were getting better, there were a few people who started coming back and saying, I want to give up my life, but I thought I want to speak to you once. And with those little conversations, their lives have changed. They're living a very happy life with just one conversation, which is awesome. And I realized this can't be me. This is just probably happening through me. It can't be by me. And I realized, wow, this is how it looks when you are aligned. This is what it looks when you're aligned with your purpose, with your gifts, and uh, when you're aligned with the universe. Then I realize now my life is something like you take 2 steps and the universe takes 10 more towards you. So there are people getting connected, things happening now, which is uh, really, really making me do this work of conscious living and creating, kind of that awareness, that consciousness in people's life that hopefully helps them to lead a more meaningful, purposeful life. So that is the journey, that is the center. And today, funnily, it all looks like, okay, we are only doing this personal awakening kind of thing, uh, but actually, it's very far from the truth. I realized my organization is kind of reflecting my personality today. You know, I have always been multifaceted, and if somebody sees me from a distance, I may also seem like a very conflicted person. Like when I say, too many multifaceted, like from my childhood, if you see even till today, I wear like 10 to 15 hats. Like I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a trainer, I'm an author. I'm like, if you, anytime in my biodata, if you see what are the few things you're doing, I have some 8 to 10 different things that I'm doing simultaneously, right? And it's easy for me. I can't stick to one. I mean, that's my personality. And what I realized, what I mean by saying conflicted is people think of me, oh, she is having a spiritual bent of mind. And then when they hear, they feel, Archana, it's too early to go spiritual, you should still be in this side of life. And I'm like, when have I left this side of life, right? And then when they see me doing business, they're like, oh, you're no longer into that whole spiritual thing you were talking about. And I'm like, no, I do. Like, there are two different things that may seem to somebody as conflicting, but for me in my life, they are like totally, totally, they can go together. And I think they're meant to go together. That's me. So my business has also evolved like that. We started off by doing this, what we can call as life skills, really waking people, talking about purpose, wellness, and such things. But today we are actually one of the biggest people in the Indian market with AI and tech skill training and all of that as well. So uh, for me, it's like everything can go with each other, but your intent is what makes the difference. It's not what you do. So my intent remains the same. You awaken people, and then what? Each one gets awakened to their unique story. So the bigger the basket of things you can offer to them, they can pick and choose what they want. But you can't restrict it to, again, you will become like another school or college if you're only restricting what you offer to this and say, with this, you need to figure out everything in your life. So it's a very interesting journey. And thank you for asking this, Praveen. I can go on talking about this for ages, I guess. And you can see my passion. But I think with that, I would like to conclude for this question what it is and where it is.
You can continue. These are so many pearls of wisdom here, which I can grab, and I suppose my audience or listeners may be able to grab it. I think my curiosity on many subjects, what you mentioned, but I think the one I would like to keep the trajectory focused on you, so then maybe I can try and understand how you transitioned from your, let's say, entrepreneurial business or like a life as an ordinary towards the spirituality. How did you kind of leap into that? What was the transition, or maybe there was an event in life, or multiple events in life which perhaps led you to that, if you want to maybe talk about them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I think we all somewhere know that, if we all had a very good and comfortable life, we don't get so much into these areas because although we all claim, oh, that's very important and all that, but it's only a sense of fear. If I don't go and say namaste to some god on some day, then, maybe he will stop showering his blessings. But truly, we don't connect in the spiritual sense or deep dive, as you said, into that. Usually it is because either, yeah, some lifetime something is happening and you are automatically drawn to it, or there are some what may seem like tragedies or some tragic events in your life that gets you to go there. Frankly, for me, I think personally, Praveen, it was a mix of both. And that I realized today. For me, it seemed like there were certain events that got me to question about life, and that's what got me closer to spirituality. But I realized the same events, with even with those questions, does not lead everybody to the same thing, right? And today, my siblings and others who know me from my childhood days, they tell me that they could see this interest in me about spirituality even when I was very young. Because my mother, I would say, was a pious lady. She had her spiritual interest, and she would do, the regular Hindu way of, the pujas and other things in the house. My siblings said they had to be scolded and tied down to just sit down through the event. But I was somebody like who would go in front and sit, and whether I understood or not right from childhood, I wanted to understand and participate in the whole thing. So I think somewhere that has come from before, and probably continued with the blessings of my parents and the life they live. But interestingly, neither were they nor are we very religious, or what I mean by that is ritualistic believers of so much of ritualistic things. But we were like we were more concerned about really understanding what is life and how to lead life properly. So, as you very rightly said, yes, a lot of events, and probably these are the events today I realize have made me into who I am. Started with things that started happening around me and not with me, but it does have an impact, right? So, I have a elder sister, and she got married when I was just about 12-year old, and around by the time I was 13, she had her first child, and that child was the first child in our entire extended family who was born with some kind of disability. And in fact, that was literally, that was then diagnosed as being severe case of spastic. So today, he is like 40-year-old, can't sit, can't stand, is absolutely dependent for everything on, others. So this was very, very kind of, I think, shocking and something very new for a 13-year-old. Anything, because I was not at all exposed to these kind of things happening. And that is what got me interested in studying more. I wanted to be a doctor, but then I moved into trying to understand more about spastics and what it, because we had never even heard of this word till then in the small town that especially we were. And then I realized, like me, there were many doctors around me who did not seem to know, and they were classifying mentally, disabled. Like literally, they were calling mad in the register that they were filling in for people with epileptic issues or spastic or anything like that. And that was like, oh my God, like when I with little reading can understand this, how can the whole system be like this around here? Like, people are just labeled mad, and then they are locked into some rooms or something like that, as if they never existed for years together. And that is what got me into doing my post graduation in that area. And around this time, interestingly, after that, when I was thinking uh, I will get into creating residential school and all that, awesome experience, Praveen, life changing, I would say that was for me, because I started visiting uh, houses where children were locked up for years together. Even the neighbors did not know of their existence. And there was one case I so distinctly remember. Like I was just about 17, 18, and this guy was about 23, 24-year old. For the first time, somebody had entered his room since he was 8. And he, like, they used to push, food inside his room. So and he was told that he is like pagal hai, he's like mad. And because of that, he would behave like that with people, because he had got tired of trying to explain he's not mad. He actually just had a few epileptic fits. And When I went in, he started throwing things at me and all that. And I was like, why are you even trying to do this? I know you're okay. I read your reports. I mean, you don't have to behave like this. You may just be frustrated, but you are not mad. And he cried for over an hour. And for the first time in so many years, he came out of his room. I gave him bath. I shaved. I still remember for the first time after 3 days, I held his hand and took him out of his house. It was unreal. That boy did not know of a world outside his room. And it was just crazy. And like this, so many more than you can imagine. When the parents started realizing that their children had no such serious issues, they just needed some care, and then they had not got that in there at that time, they all started looking up to me as if I'm some godly person. You know how it happens. I'm just like, no, 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 I'm just studying this, and I just like, I understand, like, there's nothing like that. And those were the people who started saying, what do you want? You tell. We'll give you. You just please help. Now that you've taken them out of their rooms and houses, then now what? Like, what do we do? So that is how my whole dream of setting up this uh, residential school started. But life, it has been, I don't know what word to use, so I'm going to use say interesting again and again. When I was fully prepared, government was giving the land. There were different people who were Rotary Lions Club to my college where I passed out from. They were all giving all kind of supports to the doctors and physiotherapists coming and saying we'll give free, a professional service from our side. My brother happens to get married around that time, and on the night of his marriage reception, my mother is diagnosed with brain cancer. And just like life, like it was like just slipped under me. Like I just didn't know we had just gotten, in terms with what has happened with my eldest sister and her child. And okay, that's going to be her life. Things are getting managed, can't help it. We did everything we could. It will work out. And then this happens. And then very soon, there was this feeling. I don't remember my parents or anybody telling me, but I think there was this noise around that she may not survive. And she would be happy if she sees the youngest one also married. You know how it is. But funnily, from where that came, who spoke to me, I have no memory of that. But there was this message that I thought I carried. Somebody spoke to somebody, ladka hai, why don't you see, how it happens. So my father took me to some place. I saw somebody saw me, and marriage happened. Now, just before I take you to the next step, I was somebody from my childhood days. If people want to look for where I am, just think of which are the houses where there are newborn little kids, babies, because I would be taking care of them and sending their whole families for shopping. Because I would do their massage and give them bath. I loved babies. I mean, I was totally so damn fond of them. And again, it was a gift. They would, be happy with me and I would be happy with them, even when I was pretty young. Now, funnily, I get married into this family where they have this, it's a genetic chemical imbalance of brain. So depression, you call it at one level, but very, very volatile kinds and very violent types. So I started getting hit, and because they knew it's genetic, they planned it in such a way that I was not to have children. Okay, not to have children was the easier bit, but then every day, when you start getting hit and physically, and you don't know, you've never been hit like that since your childhood, and you are like, what even is happening? And on one hand, you don't know who to talk to because in my family, everybody was dealing with their own issues. And this is not just all. My sister was dealing with her issue. My father and mother were dealing with their issues. My brother, in the meantime, he has, one after the other, two children, both pass away. One at 3-year old and another one when the child was just about 8 months old. So, life was just shattered. We were like all okay till one age, and then like nothing was okay in the next 10 years in anybody's life in our family. And we didn't know who is supposed to reach out to who for help. So we all became, fortunately for our younger, happy days, we all became like lone warriors of in our life. Whatever happens, I have to deal with it. I can't disturb them. They're already having their own battle that they're fighting. So we all fought our own battles to the best what we could. And I think this is where at some point, and being in Delhi again, just to give a flair of, although, okay, I adjusted, okay, this is my life, things will be, and I believed in Bollywood, like, but that initially it will be all tough, thoda adjust karna padta hai, compromise karna padta hai. I was working, I was financially independent, but I was giving every single penny to my in-laws, etc. All that story. But I was like, ultimately, like in Bollywood stories, everybody is going to fall at my feet and say, sorry, 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 and gale lag ke, everything will be okay. So I was very optimistic. Ki, ho jayega, theek ho jayega. But I only now realize that you have to set boundaries on day one. If you don't, you are to blame. If you become a food truck, people will clean their feet on you. So I did that classic mistake, I would say, in my life for years. I was in 13 years in that marriage with the hope that things will be okay. And I couldn't hate anybody because even in my husband, like there was nothing like a what I would call as a bad habit or something wrong. It was just a disease, right? It's inflicted on him, and I would sometimes feel sorry for what he would go through those episodes also. So it was like just miserable 13 years in that way. But then being in Delhi, I still remember one of my neighbors, they had their grandchildren, and we had this big bungalow, and we were only two of us, and sometimes only me in the house. So these kids loved to come and play in our house because it was just all over the place. They could run around and do anything. I remember these neighbors coming and dragging their children away and saying, "Kitni baar bola hai, बांझ के यहाँ जाके नहीं खेलना है." It was like, wow, in life, in reality, these things happen. And I think those were the things I remember took me um, standing in front of my puja room and talking to God in my own way, like standing and asking, why? What? I mean, whatever it is, I'm trying to take it now. What do you want me to do? Like at this point, right? And I think that is where my conversation began, Praveen, if it makes any sense. I started receiving messages, if I may say, not in words, not in a voice I heard, not in a vision that I saw, but I received the message loud and clear. And that would put me to a sense of peace, as if I knew the answer. Like when I said, uh, you know, at least you could have, given me children, then at least that would have been probably easier. And I got a message, trust me, you're not meant to have. This is good for you. The other day, I said something, and I don't remember the exact thing I communicated, and I got a message, you have to learn to live alone. Start now. And these were such strong messages. I was not able to talk to anybody because I was trying to interpret. Live alone means, will something happen to my husband? Will it die? Because you are not able to interpret it. And how do you talk to anybody like that? That I got a message that I think my husband is going to die or what, already when you're in a messy situation. But trust me, my life I built around that. I started believing I'm not meant to have children for a reason. I started believing I should be very independent and learn how to live on my own, mentally, physically, in every other way. And slowly, as these things started making sense, I was looking for a proper guru, like somebody who I can go to and ask, okay, tell me what the hell is life? And when these situations you face, what are you supposed to do? Because I had grown up in this kind of family. You get married once, and that's it. For 7 janmas, you are married, right? So I had no concept of you can separate, divorce. Those things didn't even occur to me while all this was happening. I was like, okay, Abhi, like you're there already. So you just need to figure out how to then go on with this, right? Um, and I was like, okay, how are you supposed to deal with it or react to this? Frankly, again, I feel the moment I started having questions from within, universe started throwing answers in different ways, almost as if to test me. Now I feel. So I was attracted to anybody giving talks on the TV. Koi bhi aagate hi saath, I would put on the TV and I would listen to anybody, and I was so impressed with everybody. Anybody coming to a ground nearby, I would actually find some time whenever I could, because I was working from beginning, to just run up and see. But interestingly, I would listen, I'd feel happy, but opening up, I was not ready to. I didn't feel when I met anybody that this could be my guru. I was like, baki to theek hai, but no, here I'm not feeling it. So this went on for quite some time till one day I landed up in actually Bangalore. And through one of my uncles, I met a relative I never knew till then existed. And with her, I start going out, and she takes me to this place where I end up meeting my guru one day. And the moment I got down from her car on that street, I knew this is it. And again, this was a message. I was just like, this is it. And when I went in, it was not like that day I met. It was not even the place that I met, but through that place I met. But things happened, and I finally met my guru. And that was a turning point again, big time, because I wanted somebody that I could talk to like I'm talking to you. I'm just, as I said, I'm not a very ritualistic person. I'm not somebody also who'd just go and surrender to anybody and do anything that somebody in some Viddadiwala or somebody will say. I'm simply not that. So I really needed somebody who I could just talk to in a common man's language. And again, being a woman, not everywhere that is easy also, even if there are some gurus and ashrams, right? But here I was faced with this personality who was just so right for me and also put me in my place where I needed. So sometimes I had some wrong, um, you know, considerations, assumptions, or understandings, and I needed somebody to answer me the way he did. For example, one day I said, very very beginning, one or two classes I had heard, and I was trying to act like an advisor to him. Okay, so I said. Guruji, I heard you all is okay, but I have one question. You tell what you have to tell. No, why do you have to talk against somebody else? Okay. And he said, I'm not a politician. I'm not looking for your vote. My job is to say what is right to be said. And my job is also to protect the people against the wrongdoers. So if you have a problem, I didn't invite you. Sometimes I need these kind of answers that you're not afraid of anything. You are saying what you're saying, you're completely aware of what you're saying and where it can go. And I was awed by this personality. And 20 plus years now, my Guruji has passed down from his physical presence, but I think I still get guided. And the journey was very intense. I got in completely into that life. It started making more and more sense to me. So at one time, I had to choose: am I trying to actually lose myself, not balance? Because nothing much of my family life I was managing to mend or anything. At one point, I realized even I was losing it. I was very close to doing something to somebody else, because I was like, I really can't take it, because as you can see and feel it, I'm not a very meek person by nature. I'm just not that, but I was trying to be. Just take everything and imagine me getting beaten. It's not me. Even in my childhood, I'm not getting beaten by my brother. But then here I was trying to be grown up. But ultimately, I was losing it. So my choice was, now that I've got a purpose in my life, there is a greater understanding of how valuable life is. This is not working for anybody. Me staying there is not working for anybody, actually. Everybody is upset there, right? So I want to either dedicate myself completely to my Guruji, or, okay, let me figure out how am I going to dedicate myself here. And the choice was very clear. So actually, after 13 years of being in a marriage, I moved out of that marriage to join ashram full time. And that's like a filmy story, frankly, because I'm talking about a family where I was getting beaten up and all these, different problems. It was not like all the time it was, but yeah, it was. But when I mentioned about me going, they were the most supportive people on the planet. It was like, for a moment, I mean, it's too much of a comparison, but it's like when they say Krishna was born and the doors opened, right? I was imagining they are going to like lock me up in a room, or actually, like be very upset when I say something like this. But actually, they were like, oh, we actually could sense it that you're going to do that. But we didn't know it will happen so fast. We are feeling very blessed that God has chosen somebody from our family that route. And I'm like, really? And they're like all in tears and touching my feet. Forgive us. You are from today our daughter and not daughter in law. Even today, they're in touch with me. And I don't know, my husband is like a sibling and my mother in law is like a mother. And she wants to speak to me every few days. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. And two, like really getting kind of informing my father and then going into the ashram, living there for many years. Before a stage came when there were a lot of foreign devotees who were with me here. And we were all in what we called as ashram, but we were also running businesses for raising funds for the ashram. And they all went back to their respective countries where they started their little ashrams themselves. So I was literally left alone, or I had to join an ashram full time with doing pujas and all. Again, I'm not that person. I can't be having a ashram life. So, and my Guruji was also very clear that you are supposed to do more like preaching and be out. And I'm not very sure if you want the limelight of taking sannyas and all that story, but I had gone to that extent. He was ready to give me sannyas, but both him and I felt that's not what I really want. So I really again started my life back with a on my own, like getting out of the full time ashram because there was no other group. I was alone, and starting my life again, starting something of my own, which can actually because I had given everything, whatever I had, like. Money to jewelry to anything because I was living and I was taking just what I needed for my livelihood. So starting from there, I restarted my life when I was 40, frankly, and now it's almost 15 years now. So it's been an interesting uh, journey, and I continue to try and follow whatever I have understood from my Guruji and starting and continuing on that path. It's a long journey. I'm still very much of a beginner, so to say. But I do. I think that has given me a lot of purpose, strength, courage, ability to feel not alone, even when I may seem alone. I really feel, yeah. And they say, right, he's walking along with you.
Is it right to say that what you learned with your Guruji or during that time, you transitioned that into your further kind of conscious living center concept, all the things what you teach people? Is that right way to put it?
Yes, it is because it has transformed me, Praveen, right? And what I realize is people get interested in conscious living center more when they just see me. And what they want is how can we be like you? Just happy. And I realize I have all these turbulations going on around in my life, but there is that I'm rooted in that peace or shanti or whatever you might want to, I don't know, very difficult to explain that. Happiness means not, I'm not always jumping in joy, but I'm happy. I'm a happy soul. And I know that I'll be crying one moment and next moment I can be singing along and actually be happy. And you're like, which one is you? That one is me. the one which is singing, that's me, right? So the introduction, I think we all are happy souls. I think my Guruji enabled me to be in touch with that happy soul. And I think people really want to only learn that how can we be just like you? Things are happening around you, but you are not disturbed and you can be in your space and you can continue to lead your life. And this is the blessing. So, very much so. I feel now, where does that come from? I don't teach typical things like I'm not an expert, and not that I'm not valuing them, but like meditation or yoga or something. I'm not an expert in that because my Guruji, that's not the lineage I come from. We are more like, um, the sadhana, bhakti sadhana, we just at the most do chanting kind of thing. But we don't do any other ritual that way. But at the same time, when you really understand, it's like, suppose you feel that you're an orphan and you're living your life, right? And one day you realize, no, your parents are just there. You were just not looking that side. They were just there, and they're just all the time with you, taking care of you. That is the transition that happened with me inside. And I think that reflects in whatever I do, wherever I go, in the business or in this conscious living center that I do. And I try to get people to get in touch with that side of it. Like, don't take life overly seriously, don't take life too lightly. It is what it is, and just try to understand and be yourself. So, get in touch with yourself is the real story. Yeah, my Guruji did help me get in touch with me. So, yeah.
You mentioned universe. Of course, I mean, the terminology God or Brahm or Ishwar, there are many different references. And then you have devotion, and then you have the faith element. So I don't know which side of these kind of things you look at, or maybe they kind of gave you the initial foundation for you to continue. If any of these you want to highlight, that would be really.
Sure. So I'm a Krishna Bhakta. So let me be very straight and direct. So I am not believer of just calling universe or something like that. I'm very clear. And if I may say, I'm not saying that everybody should believe in this because I really believe we all are in our journeys. And whatever is the right fit for us, we should find our fit. It's our journey. So I don't think anybody else can provide the answer for anybody on what is right, what is wrong. But for me, what felt right, and a funny story on this as to why Krishna is the supreme. What convinced me is like a child story, but it does work for me. That every other god or demigod, or however we want to, devatas that we refer to, right? There is a devata and the Bhagwan. I didn't know the distinctions between these. And it needed a guru for me to have that clarity to really read even some of the, Vedic scriptures that we have and understand it properly. So understanding the difference between Bhagwan and Devatas and how all the Devatas seem to have a duty or they are in charge of a ministry, right? But Bhagwan is actually simply, dancing around and doing nothing actually. So I really like that fact that, yeah, he must be the supreme because he's not answerable to anybody. Whereas everybody else seems to be either doing tapasya or meditation or taking care of some aspect. There is a Bhagwan who is completely free and out of all this and saying, I'm not concerned with this day to day things. You are creating your tomorrow. You are living your thing. I'm not drawing your tomorrow and giving it to you. So, one is that at the same time, you are there by choice. And if you have to come to me, then that's also your choice that you have to exhibit and you have to work towards that. So, one is as far as God, yes, I'm a believer in God. And God also, I have identified for me as Krishna. And Bhakti Marg is what we believe in. And philosophy wise, the parampara that I come from is, we are like qualitatively one, but quantitatively different simultaneously. So that is the kind of philosophy. And we are basically people who follow spontaneous devotion. So there is Vaidhi Bhakti. Bhakti again can be of different kinds, right? So there are people who follow ritualistic bhakti. There are people who follow spontaneous, like Raganuga Bhakti, they call it. Right? So we are more of that. But of course, as beginners, we all have to follow certain um, disciplined sadhana that we are given by the Guru. But slowly, if and when you progress, then you can let loose of the rules, so to say, and it's more of the bhava, the prema that flows, and you have to figure what relationship you have with the Lord. So some may think of the God as uh, a parent figure, some may think of God as a child, some may think of God as a friend, etc. So there are 8 different relationships we can have, and that is up to each one to really get to that realization as to who are you in that eternal space. So interestingly, like when we take Diksha or what we call as initiation, Guru gives a new name to the disciple. So that name is also supposed to have a link to what the Guru sees for you to be having a position in that eternal world. And it may take time for you to realize that and stuff like that. So I was actually given the name Ashtasakhi Dasi, so which basically means the friend of the 8 Sakhis of Krishna. And in other words, as my Guruji said, you will never be serving one, you will be serving many. Come back to I said, like I'm always been multifaceted and I'm always doing different things. I realize in my actually even day-to-day life, my life has also been like that, that I've never been in like one box following one channel, one boss, or somebody like that. So I guess this is me. This is very powerful for me because this gave understanding for me. Who is God? Who are we? Why are we created? What is the end game of it all, so to say? What is the ultimate purpose? See, one is goal setting. I want to achieve this in this lifetime. All that is one part of it. But when you come to spirituality, I would say it's the ultimate goal of life is actually similar for all of us, which is first phase of that is to really know after this life what next, because we all know if we have come, we will go, right? One day or the other, when our time comes, we have to go. But where? But where do we go? And how do we prepare ourselves for that? And after that, what? Like, is it just a cyclic thing? Does it go on? Is there a way to transcend this life cycle that we call? I have found this to be a real science and something that I believe that there is a way to follow and do it. And yeah, I'm trying baby steps and taking.
That's really great. What's the end game, anyways?
Transcending this space of life and death and going to your eternal life. So there is a space, we say soul is eternal, right? Soul is eternal. It's only the body that keeps changing. So there is a space where you don't have to have this body that needs changing. So there is no birth, there is no death. You like how we refer to God, there is a place for all of our souls to be in a space with the Lord where everything is eternal, joy is eternal. So bliss is here, everything is temporary. Everything has to change. Life itself has to change. If you are young, we have to grow old. If you grow, we have to grow disease. We have to die. We have to give birth. But there is a life where we don't have to go through temporary phases of. So the end game is really that, and then because most painful. See, when a baby is born, it's not laughing and coming. Yay, I'm born. It's crying. It's miserable. Right? The child is miserable coming into this world after even being in that space for 9 months. It's a miserable journey, right? And then it comes out quite miserable. And then actually, if you see the disease, like people don't want to get have any diseases, but then in the human body, whatever you deal with, there is a stage in life and you have to go through that. Old age, who wants old age and all the things that come with old age? People are nowadays talking longevity, nobody wants to die forever and all that story. But what people are not understanding is what will you do here for all the times? Because you are here, frankly, this life is like a classroom. We have come to learn our lessons and move. We are saying I'll not move from my classroom because this is really nice and comfortable. I mean, I am we stupid or what? Because it's like, really, even if it's comfortable, make way. Go on. There are other places to go and see. So on one hand, we believe in parallel universes, and on the other, we talk about longevity and not going anywhere from here, and also encroaching upon Moon, Mars, Jupiter, whatever else we can get in our hand, and just go and settle all these places there. I think we are just not getting it right.
Well said. Well said. Thank you for that. So, how does in your program anybody recognize themselves, and then what kind of I don't know if you have a questionnaire for them to kind of initially look into
Yeah,
and try and find out.
very correct. Yeah, actually, we have a program that we call as Find Your Calling. And overall, it may take about 10 hours. How spread it is, it all depends on how quickly you can get clarity based on the steps that you take. But it starts with certain, psychometric tests, personality development, self assessment. And based on that one on one debriefing that we do with individuals who come to us, so that then they get clarity about first of who they are. I think that is the fundamental uh, foundation for anybody to start living life is self-awareness. So we create the self-awareness first about who they are, what's their nature innately, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what do they like, what they don't like, what are they passionate about, right? Those are the things. Now, as I said, there are, I caught on to this, oh my God, how can a child be committing suicide? Like me, there are lakhs and millions and billions of people reading that news, but nobody's life changed because of this, probably maybe 10 of ours, right? So why does something hit like that, but for you it might have been something else? So really, what is that problem or purpose that attracts you towards it? Either you feel pained by something, my God, why is this like that, why is this happening? Or you might be feeling, why doesn't somebody do this for this? Right? You have to feel, everybody feels one or the other way about something. If you allow them to feel, at some point they feel. If that is the case, then okay, then you need to figure out, you have certain innate skills, certain characteristics that are going to help you in that. But then you may have to learn a lot more, or get better at what you know. Right? So even if you're supposed to be like a musician, you may have some basic talent, but you still need a master and learn and become an expert in that to really contribute even in that space to your best, actually, so that people really can uh, feel that you made the place a better, a little better with your presence. So this is what we then take them through. Okay, you have become self-aware. Then now look at what is the right fit for you as a goal that you would want to pursue for this lifetime. So create those goals, and here we try to look at holistic goals. You cannot ignore your personal goals. You have to look at what is a personal lifestyle you want to have and what is the professional goal that you want. Look at that together and then create a roadmap. How are you going to achieve? So where are you now in these spaces? What are the things that you need to empower you, enable you to move from here to here, and then start that journey? So that is what we call as a roadmap. Third level is really getting into the continuous learning pathway and actually applying and contributing, right? So the first two are like when you are like a consumer, you are learning, you are receiving, etc., and then you start becoming contributor, and you are now looking at becoming better and better expert by continuous learning. That again is a pathway we provide. By now, you want to be a musician, then what will help you in that? Maybe do we provide that, or can we support you in looking where you should be looking for that kind of expert? So these are This is a complete 10-hour program that helps them with at least coming down with the roadmap. After that, they can go through us if we can help them, or they can go through somebody who can.
So that's 10-hour program. They just like sign up with you and then they kind of go through with that. Or once the assessment is done, then the kind of roadmap is included in that 10 hours.
Okay. No, actually 10 hours starts it because first they are just given a link with which they get a 45 minutes complimentary call with me one on one. So once I understand that, I even explain to them how those tests have to be taken. Because otherwise, if we don't do the tests properly, then the results also are not proper. And people may start, reading a doctor's report and going to Google and checking what you have. So people may have that tendency to do that. Okay, now I can see my own report. Now I will only figure out what I should do. But they don't understand that any good report can only be 70% at best right about it. Which 70% is that, and what do you do about the remaining 30% is exactly where a expert or a facilitator will come and sit with you and help you understand that 100% of you. So they need to. So first we do a complimentary session, then we give them instructions on how they should do this, give them those tests to do. They have to send the reports back to us. They have to also go through and mark it for themselves. What do they agree with and what they disagree with, and then they come and have one more one-on-one where we go through all the areas, especially that they disagree with, and come to an agreement of who are they in that area. Then they do like a SWOT analysis. Then we give them a SWOT analysis, explain how to do, and then they're clear, okay, this is me as a package. And then, we help them with the goal setting, how they should do that. Then we actually sit with them for the goal setting. There is a complete process, 4-step process that we do, which is actually coming from my coaching, which is neuroscience based. And then we help them arrive at their goals, usually 3, 2 professional, 1 personal goal. And then you can see that, okay, all of them are aligned. I can move forward together in this. And then we help, okay, where are you? Where do you need help? And then let's go. So till there, we do the 10 hours. After that, they're given with their roadmap what they need to do. After that, depends. They can come for phase 2 to us, or they can go to some other institute where they may get the support.
It's really helpful. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if you came across with anybody who perhaps had all these things and they were skeptical throughout the whole process, and how do you manage any, let's say, difficult one?
Yeah. Frankly, when you make it sound that simple, all of them are skeptical. Like they feel, if I were to just take those things and goal setting, even I've done that and that doesn't work and all that. But the real process is really in that coaching or mentoring process that happens one on one. And I strongly believe, and I think as a profession, we believe that it's like a doctor's profession, whether you're a coach or a mentor also. They have to have faith in you. They have to have the trust in you. They have to have that regard for you. Otherwise, it will not work. Because sometimes it is a placebo effort. Things have to, and the process that we take, we strongly believe that the answers have to come from within them, and we don't want to give the answers. We want to ask them the right questions in a particular sequence to help them come up with the answers that can help them solve the problem areas in their life, define the problem areas in their own words for themselves. So, what happens is either people don't start itself, and that can be, some people are, women are not feeling the comfort to go with another woman. Male may be uncomfortable to go with a female. God knows what all different dimensions come here to play. But ultimately, I feel if this has to work, it is like a doctor. Too many people can say the doctor is very good, but some of us will feel the fate to go to the doctor. Again, doctor may recommend a good prescription for me. Do I follow it? If I don't follow, I can't blame the doctor that he is wrong. I wanted to lose 15 kgs. I went to that yoga teacher. I joined this class for 6 months, nothing happened. Did you do everything that he said? Or you're simply blaming? So this you have to be honest about it. So what I feel, like in spirituality, it's your desire, the bija, that that is the real seed. If there is honesty, a real hunger for what you want, you will get what you want. If you need somebody doing hogwash, like just giving you something that you're anyway looking for, do that puja, give that 5,000 rupees and things will get sorted. You will get somebody say that to you and you are happy, they are happy. But if you want to do the hard work and you really want to go through a process, then you're looking for a person like this. So I think it's always very good question you ask. It's not like everybody will feel the inkling to come to us or feel satisfied by what we provide. We will get only the kind of people that can get help by us only. But frankly, once we've started, I have not seen, except one or two women. And it's very interesting because women don't find it very, sometimes they're very ambitious, but then they get themselves into this family situation and then they don't know how to have the courage to create that right situation for themselves. It's not about breaking away, but then it feels like, why do I want to shake this? So they get there and they want to say, not now, I'll come back to you after 1 month. They know exactly why they're running away because this is when they have to stand up for themselves. And a few women have difficulty in doing it. Or men, for example, if your answer is very clearly what you're looking for, you need to leave this job and do this. The answer is very clear. You have arrived at that answer, not me. And when they see that answer, they're like, oh no, I don't have the courage to now take the next step. So, my feeling is okay, you saw the answer for it, and now it's up to you. You have to do it. Nobody else can do it for you. So, few cases are there like
I think it's an incredible discovery. I think what your program brings to them, and I think it's a great realization what they go
that.
through.
Yes.
I think for me, it's really important that people somehow manage to figure out what exactly their purpose is. And do you think
Yes.
this kind of purpose realization can happen early in the life, in the children, or parents can try and adopt that something?
Absolutely. I think we are pre-programmed with our purpose. Uh, it is just that a child needs some time, some exposure, and some experience to put it in their words properly to express what's their purpose. But purpose is known to that soul. If you just let that soul travel its natural journey without too much of interference as a adult, parent, teacher, whatever. And parents can definitely support this by observing and helping the child express what they're wanting to express or give them the language to express themselves, right? So now they don't know. They may know that I like singing, but they may not know how gifted they are in singing. But actually, if a parent can be a little objective and not look at whatever my child does is great, but look at really what I see. I mean, like, okay, am I a good musician to make out whether my child is really singing well, or do I think only just because I'm a parent and I'm loving it? If I don't know, get a music teacher to actually hear the child and say, I feel this child is always singing or going towards music instruments. Do you think this child has some gift in them? A music teacher will be able to observe some things that I and you may. Or may some child may have towards sports or invention or whatever it could be. So I think the signals are there from the childhood. And if you ask me early years, oh my God, that's the trick. Okay, that's the real thing. My belief is 0 to 12 years is the age by when purpose can become extremely clear. It shouldn't take beyond 12 years. That happens only because we have confused the child. So a child, some children will be by birth very clear. They are like almost child prodigies type, right? Although, like from previous lifetime, as if they have brought their learning and they're continuing. That's a small percentage. But then for the remaining, if you are very, very carefully observing, like I find this funny, like if you just observe carefully, you put on music. A child is just few months old. There will be some children who will just like you can see their hearing. You will see their movement is that, or they're happy, they express happiness, they like that. There's some children who will be completely oblivious to your music playing. They have no interest in that. They are looking at something else, right? There will be some children, you give them anything to play, they want to open it and see. We usually say boys and girls, but not necessarily. If you see carefully, there are some children who want to break it and see inside what is there. That is something that is telling about them to us actually. There are some who want to keep them very carefully and play with them. They have no deeper interest in them. Right? So these are things that parents and teachers around the small children can help. And 0 to 12 allow them as much as exposure as possible. Travel with them a lot, let them read a lot, tell them a lot of stories, expose them to as many things as possible. They will act cranky. The more they get exposed, they will act cranky. Today, I saw tennis game. I want to be a tennis player. Tomorrow, cricket match is going on. Oh my God, I want to be the next cricket player. Third day, you say something, Indian Idol is going on. I want to be the next Indian Idol. But they are trying to figure out. There may be a creativity, but they don't know is it in sports or is it in music. But they just know that I don't fit into the engineer wala block. So they're only telling you that, and you just need to give them those short exposures. They will either like it and continue with it, or they will like it for a short span and then know this is not for me. But I think as parents, as adults, we should give them that exposure. We should give them that ability to test different things and not put them that condition. This time, if you join this, I want you to promise me that you are going to take it up like your next career in life. Yeah, no, not necessary. Hobby, something can be developed as a hobby, something can be developed as their entire profession. So, 0 to 12, frankly, Praveen, I think if we can speak less, instruct less, hear more, observe more, we will be doing a lot of contribution to a child realizing its purpose.
Very helpful. I'll remember that. Yeah. I think 0 to 7 is a landmark in my kind of own personal experience. But then after 7, they have a different little change in the personality. I think I'm perhaps, I have got more questions, but I don't want to take up much of your time now. I think I realized that because of the initial technical glitch, we just were taking over a little bit more time. Is there anything you would like to mention, which I perhaps, did not touch upon or did not mention, or you think is worth mentioning?
No, I think we did bend, almost all the areas, and as I said, we can go on talking about it. But I really feel my only message to anybody who is going to watch this program is really live life and don't exist, don't survive. And by that, what I mean is, in order to live your life, you really need to know yourself and know your purpose, understand this life, and live a life that's worthy of living, that you will feel proud of living, that you will feel happy for living. Trust me, even when we feed a small puppy on the road when it's hungry or thirsty, we feel so happy. What if we can really know what all we can give, and that happiness we can derive by giving, which also enriches us so much. That's a life that I wish for everybody, and I'd be very pleased to be of any help I can, whether you are a young person trying to figure out this part of the story, or you are already reaching, the middle or the senior life, and you feel, oh, have I wasted all my time? I don't know what else to do. I feel I'm like in a position where I feel saturated. There is no growth. There is no change. There is no learning. There is no excitement. If any of this is hitting you, or you are feeling any challenges seeming a little too overwhelming for you, just reach out. Just reach out, and I'll be very happy to support you in that process. That's all from me.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the time. Thank you.